Our report today is on the economy. Are we sliding from inflation into recession? That's a big concern after the Federal Reserve hiked interest rates for the 10th consecutive time.
Americans are taking the economic hit on all sides with higher costs for food, mortgages, car loans, and record credit card interest rates. Abigail Robertson brings us the story.
Interest rates went up a quarter point on Wednesday, but the Fed is signaling going forward they may pause after their streak of 10 rate hikes in a row.
Our future policy actions will depend on how events unfold.
The Fed hopes their string of rate hikes will help keep bringing down inflation, but now they'll step back and assess if it's time to pause the rate hikes. Chair Jerome Powell said they'll also be monitoring other factors like the recent bank failures to see if it's time to cool the rate hikes, but he expressed confidence in the system.
Conditions in that sector have broadly improved since early March, and the U.S. banking system is sound and resilient.
The 10th consecutive interest rate hike comes amid renewed fears that the Fed's ongoing effort to combat persistent inflation could push the U.S. into a recession, an outcome Powell acknowledged.
It's possible that we will have what I hope would be a mild recession.
The Federal Reserve has been an abject failure, particularly over the past few years.
Joel Griffith from the Heritage Foundation argues the Fed plays a key responsibility in creating today's inflation in the first place.
What we need is for the Fed to actually be honest with the public, admit that they made a mistake in printing these trillions of dollars, and point out that Congress has been overspending and Congress has been demanding that they print more money. We have to get our federal spending under control, and the Federal Reserve needs to stop enabling these big spending politicians.
And big spending is a big issue in Washington right now, with congressional Republicans wanting limits on future spending as a condition for raising the government's debt ceiling, while the president wants it increased with no conditions.
The president and the speaker need to reach an agreement to get us past this impasse.
For the moment, inflation and higher rates remain the top concern for most Americans, as the Fed's rate hikes have spilled over into the economy, driving up the cost of mortgages and car loans, along with credit card interest rates, which are also at a record high of 20%, all of which has been hitting consumers in their pocketbooks.
Definitely have made adjustments, to make it work.
Griffith says the average American family is seeing around $7,000 less per year of income right now relative to 2 years ago because of inflation. At the grocery store alone, prices are still nearly 8.5% higher than they were a year ago. Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Well, we're all feeling the pinch and we're all feeling the temptation to put expenses on credit cards and sort of float our way down this inflationary cycle and say, okay, I'll put this on a credit card and hopefully be able to pay it off later. If you're thinking that, please don't do it. Don't fall into the trap of having credit card consumer debt. Do your best to rein in your expenses in these inflationary times so you're not overspending for goods. We all need to buy food. We all need to buy energy. We all need to heat our homes, drive our cars. But anything else, take a real hard look at it. Do you absolutely need that? Because if you put it on a credit card, you're going to probably end up paying for it twice, maybe even 3 times. Now, here's the real news and the real cause of the inflationary spiral. Our federal government. And it's not a Democrat issue. It's not a Republican issue. Both of them are doing it. And what they're doing is trying to appease a population in order to get your vote. They're saying, if I give you a voucher or I give you a stimulus check, or if I do these things, you're going to think kindly of me and you're going to vote for me the next cycle. It's where democracies go to die, when the population figures out how to vote itself the treasury, because in that you run out of money and you can't do it anymore and it's not sustainable. We have to insist that our representatives don't do that anymore. But it's weird, in the current debate about raising the debt ceiling, it doesn't seem like spending cuts are on the table. And on the other side, it doesn't seem like tax increases are on the table. How do we get to a balanced budget? How do we live within our means? And how do we rein in government spending that seems remarkably out of control? The more our government spends and deficit spends, the more inflation is going to take a bite out of your pocketbook.